This is Mark with Rock Over America Magazine, and today I have Seth. You're going to help me with your last name. Is it Uldricks?
Uldricks. Yes.
Uldricks, okay. From a Sign of Southern Cross. This is a newer band that's getting out there. A lot of you haven't heard of. We already ran the CD, the review for the EP, which is it got all high marks. It's absolutely amazing. And if you had to define Southern Cross as a sound, how would you define it?
As far as the sound that we have?
Yeah. The sound of the music and the sound of the group, how would you define the Sign of the Southern Cross?
I would define it as sort of a tasty contradiction, a yin and yang, if you will. It's like it burns, it's a fast burn, but it's got a fat ass on it. You know what I'm saying? I enjoy that sort of heavy metal groove, that blues-based kind of heavy metal that's got soul to it. I've got influences all over the place, and heavy metal is definitely a huge influence for me, but it's, anything that's just got that burn to it, that soul, that sort of swing to it, I'm all about it. So that's what Southern Cross is for me. It's just groove metal, blues-based heavy metal.
Cool. And when you were growing up, what were you listening to? What were your musical influences?
Well, it was weird. For me, there wasn't much music in the household, and me stumbling upon music was just sort of by accident. My parents are much older than I guess your average parents are, but they're more like intellectuals. My dad's got a PhD and doing that whole thing, and so there wasn't much music around. The only music I was ever really exposed to was when my brother would come home from college. And he went to college like in the early 90s, so he was coming home with, Pearl Jam and just sort of that early 90s grunge kind of stuff. And what I liked about bands like that is that, they had, very kind of blues influence on them as well. And so I started listening to that early 90s kind of like rock. And as I was starting to discover music for my own, I just found an old guitar out in the shed. And I started digging around on it. And I realized I started having more of a taste for heavier, darker, meaner sounding music. But I had no frame of reference. And it wasn't until I started going through high school and meeting, friends and stuff like that, that I was even exposed to heavy metal. And as soon as I was, it was weird. I was like, I'd never listened to that kind of stuff. But I was writing songs like that. And I was like, my God, it kind of clicked for me. And next thing you know, I'm listening to that band like Pantera, the whole New Orleans scene, I Hate God, Soylent Green, just all the classics coming out of New Orleans, and that really inspired me. And so it wasn't until later on in my life that I really was able to get introduced to metal. But as soon as I was, it just clicked because it just seems like a very natural thing for me for songwriting. I was like, well, this makes sense to me. And I finally discovered it, and it finally just sort of set me on the path that I am on now.
Okay, and what would you say is the one thing that really pushed you over the edge and said, this is what I want to do for a career?
It was weird. It was, I've been in and out of just a bunch of bands, from when I was a little kid. Started out playing in blues bands, when I was like 14 years old and stuff like that, singing with, playing with some band of like older guys, playing at bars and like that, singing some Stevie Ray Vaughan and stuff like that. But what I think pushed me over the edge for it was obviously Pantera. I mean, you can't deny any metal. You just cannot deny the massive influence of that band. But I guess as soon as I heard Pantera, that really just started getting me thinking. I was like, I love this sound, and so I started playing their records and just going through and trying to learn the songs and things of that nature. And then as soon as I started doing bands, professionally, law school, and I was going to do the whole, life and kid American dream kind of thing. But the more I did the music, the more it just sort of became an assumption that it was something I was going to do for the rest of my life.
And you guys are, and I know TSOTSC was a big influence for you guys too.
Absolutely. Just that whole New Orleans scene in general. I mean, everybody from TSOTSC, from what I understand, they're actually from Raleigh, North Carolina, except for Pepper. It's like, I think that's one thing you can hear in the music is it fits right in the middle between extreme metal, Black Pantera, and sort of that, classic bluesy rock like TSOTSC.
Yeah, and also, would it be fair to say there's a little like Southern rock influence too? Because you're out of North Carolina, so it would seem fitting that maybe there's maybe a little bit of Skinner or something in there too.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, Skinner and Allman Brothers, definitely Allman, are hugely influenced by the Allman Brothers.
And where did you get the name from? Now, I'm going to preface this, okay, because some people are going to misconstrue this. First of all, if you remember, Black Sabbath had a song called "Sign of the Southern Cross," and then there are going to be people that are going to go, "Geez, these sound like a bunch of KKK guys or something," I mean, being from down south, I want to throw that out there because you guys are not anything about that, but some person somewhere might be going, "Gee, they must be racist and they must be wearing white sheets and burning crosses," and it's not about that. So, have you ever heard that before? Have you ever had anybody misconstrue that? Because I know somewhere along the line, somebody's going to be going, "They must be wearing white sheets at night."
Absolutely. People, it's not as bad as it used to be. I think, when we put it out there and go, "Hey, this is not a white power band, why don't you take it down a notch, people?" You still get those people that come up and they're like, "What's this, a racist band?" Because they see a rebel flag or something like that. And, don't get me wrong, I completely understand why some people are comfortable about it. But when did heavy metal become something where it's not about pissing people off?
Yeah, and
everybody's sensitive, like, "Oh, a heavy metal band pisses us off. How could this be?"
But like Skinner, they ran, and see, it's not really the Confederate flag because the national Confederate flag has a white field with a blue upper left corner with the stars and bars in it. That's the Confederate battle flag that everybody flies, and people misconstrue that. That has nothing to do with anything other than that's what those guys, and it was just, it was in some cases, as we both know, brother versus brother, cousin versus cousin, very, very ugly part of American history, a very, very sad part of American history, and we're literally even friends, there's a movie, of Gods and Generals, have you seen that? Even some of the generals on opposing sides are friends.
Yeah, it was a heartbreaking time in American history. And for those of us, in the South who put that up, going on concessions with it, hanging up in our trucks or flying on our lawns and stuff like that, none of it's ever like spitting in the face of civil rights or, any kind of racial connotation or anything. It's absolutely nothing like that.
It's like I put it this way, and tell me if you jive with this, because I think this is the best way to say it. It's like certain people up east in Connecticut and certain places, they will still, it's very, very prominent in certain places to see the tread on me flag or a bumper sticker. I think there's even a license plate up east that has that, and that's going back from the Revolutionary War. It wasn't the American flag with the circle of the 13 stars. It was just a flag that was flown. And, Skinner was one of the big ones that really, really used the rebel flag. In fact, you can see video of them over in England back in the 70s, and there were people flying the rebel battle flag. So it's just...
That's what I love about European fans. They don't give a damn. It's not about that for them. They just enjoy the music, and they feel the music, and they can see past all that bull crap. I think in America, it's unfortunately a big point of contention. A lot of people, and I completely understand that. And I'm not out trying to convince people otherwise. It's just like, you can read my lyrics, not a damn thing in there about race, about anything like that. In fact, there's only like one or two songs even about being Southern. It's just sort of that Southern sound. And like hell, if people are going to be pissed off the flag, you got to figure out something to do. And obviously, I'm a big fan of Black Sabbath, huge fan of Dio. And I knew they had that song inside of the Cross. I was like, that'd be a cool little, not only homage to Black Sabbath and to Dio, but it would also be, I could still be able to keep Southern Cross. And there's sort of a representation that, wherever you see us, you'll see our Southern pride, you'll hear that Southern sound. But we're not idiots. I mean, hell, I'm a college-educated guy. If you read my lyrics, I love philosophy and just an intellectual approach to any kind of human experience. And so absolutely none of it's about race or any ugly crap like that.
Well, I know that you know that, but that's why I wanted to give you a chance to explain. Because like I said, you've had experiences, and I know that somewhere somebody still is going to so misconstrue that. So that's why I wanted to clear the air on that. So, can we talk for a couple minutes about the first album, which is of Mountains and Moonshine, and what were your two favorite songs on that album and why?
I would say the two favorites, and these are also, I think, a couple of fan favorites as well, is Stalking Horse, which I think is the last track on the album, and Eating the Sun. Those two tracks on there, I think, really stand out to me. I mean, I love all the songs on there, so it's really difficult to pick, but whenever I'm going back to say, hey, let's take a listen to this old stuff, I usually gravitate toward those two tracks. And Stalking Horse is, I think, just a fun song, man. It's got a real 80s feel to it. Something about the bridge to me just real nasty, where you got a fat swing hook kind of to it. And, I think it's just, it's a cool song. It's the only song I've ever written that's about anything political. And it's not even anything specifically, political. It's about a Stalking Horse. The term in the old times originally meant when you were hunting, the hunters, they could see that when they would try to approach whatever they were hunting, they'd scare animals off, but they realized they would tolerate the presence of other animals. So what they would do is they would sort of duck behind their horses, and that would allow them to get closer to the clearing, and then they would pop up and but in modern times, in sort of a political sense, a stalking horse is someone who seems to be the one who's presenting an idea, like some junior congressman stepping up saying, hey, I've got this bill or I've got this idea. But really, what it is there are forces acting behind them that couldn't bring up the idea because if they brought it up, they'd get shot down. And they were sort of working behind the scenes to sort of kind of get their own gains on whatever's being brought up. And so really it's just about keep an eye out and just be smart. I think a lot of people, especially politically, whether they lean left or right or middle or whatever, I don't even think there's a middle anymore for most people. I think it's just, most people are just rocking extreme right or rocking extreme left. And then when they see somebody pop up and they're like, hey, this person is saying what I want them to say and it sounds exciting. Take a second to look at who are they affiliated with and who are these people. Who are they really? Because, in the grand scheme of things, all those people, they all go to the same country club. You got, one of the media is kind of confusing you about, the left and the right, and you get sort of caught up in all that. No one ever takes a second, they pay attention to the how and the who, but they never pay attention to the why. And that's what that song is about. And like I said, this is not a political band, and it never has been, but that's just the one song, I think, where I actually say, hey, in the world of politics, pay attention. Take some time to do your research before you fervently back one person or the other. And, I could care less if someone's on the left, right, or whatever. It's about just paying attention and being informed because it's not always what it seems.
Are you familiar with John Schaefer from Mike First and the Sons of Liberty band that he has?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Because we went a lot of the politics on that stuff, and he was talking about the who and the what and who's steering what and the whole 9 yards and that. And this is not one I want to get real political with you right now. That one was specifically an interview that was set up as very, very political primarily, because the band is about looking at the Constitution, looking at how things are starting to drift away. And it's not about left, it's not about right, but what it is about preserving what the founding fathers set forth.
That's not even what it's about for me. It's just, it's mostly just on a personal level more than a trying to change policy or get us back to, whatever people think was, because none of us were there until you hear a lot of people constitutionalists, whatever, like, the founding fathers, just like, shut up. You don't even know. You weren't there. And, like, it's just about the individual. To me, it's about paying some bad attention, you know what I mean?
Right, I was saying you were talking about kind of the why behind it, and he kind of went into that. So, it's kind of nice when somebody writes something where they talk about that to get people to think about it. To me, it's not so much about, who you're voting for, but what really kind of perturbs me is when somebody says, well, I'm voting Republican or I'm voting Democrat, and I'm like, I'm voting for, like, John Smith for president. I'm like, okay, so what do you think about John's platform? Oh, it sounds good. My dad's a Democrat, my dad's a Republican, my family, that's not voting for him. I'm like, so what are some of the platforms? Like, I don't know, but he sounds good. I'm like, oh, God. And that's where hand slaps forehead, and you're going, oh, God. And it's nice when people make people think about that, so I'm glad you do that. And then let's talk about the other song real quick, and then we'll move into the EP, and then we'll give a little bit of a shade of the new album upcoming that you're working on. So let's go into the other song really quick off of the first album.
Okay, Eating the Sun is, for me, it was a very self-exploration and also a meditative thing. Actually, you hear at the beginning of the track, it's this droning sort of organ that sort of rises. And it's meant to sort of to zone you out, to put you in sort of a self-meditative state, sit there and think about, what's going on in your life. And the song sort of touches on, when something in your life is not working, it's hurting you. It's, whether it be a relationship or, your job or just whatever. For me, personally, it was a romantic relationship I had with a young lady that got to a certain point where I finally, after dealing with just so much anguish and so many problems and things that just weren't working, I finally hit that ceiling where I was like, no matter how beautiful she is on the outside, she's hideous on the inside, and it's making me hideous, and I hate this. I hate, what it's making me become, turning me into this angry kind of just this monster, and that's not who I am.
So you dated my ex-wife's son.
I'm sorry?
You dated my ex-wife's son.
And that's what I hear from the fans, like, the lyrics, to me, I was like, no one's really going to know exactly what this is about, I thought they were kind of cryptic, but I actually hear from fans all the time, just sort of when the subject of the first album comes up, fans sort of give me, reach out, send me an email or whatever, they're like, hey, Eating the Sun really helped me through a personal problem. And it was like, what did you go through? It was a very similar situation. So it was, I think ultimately in the end it came through, the message came through, like, hey, when it's hurting you, wash your hands of it. Just find that time when you finally recognize it and you can separate yourself from the situation and look at it objectively and realize that you don't need that kind of shit in your life.
Oh yeah, because I had it's funny that you said that really beautiful on the inside, that really on the outside, and really hideous on the inside. I had this relationship that was short-lived. I was married to somebody a couple of years ago who's up in Chicago now. It's a long, long internet romance going through hell in a handbasket that was actually, it was not what it was purported to be in the whole 9 yards. And when you said that, I'm going, yeah, he must have been involved with Max.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It's, hell, maybe I was on it.
I think everybody, if she was European, you were involved with her. But everybody, I think, had that. So, it's one of those things that you can relate to. And I like it when people do write songs that will touch you personally and kind of reach into your soul like that. Because everybody, I don't care how great your life is, we've all had at least that one really, really ugly relationship that we'll never forget, but we try to.
Absolutely. And that's what it's about. none of the subjects that I approach really are any revolutionary, brand new ideas like what I'm talking about. I just like to take very fundamental, very elemental human experiences and talk about them in a way that maybe hasn't been talked about in that way before. Like instead of writing some sort of sad, whining love song about, pining after some lost love, I took a real second and turned it into something that was introspective. Said, hey, instead of even turning back at myself, like, hey, I did this to myself for most of the time. I was holding on to poison. And, instead of it being this, kind of whiny rock ballad, I wanted to turn it into something big and epic. And, like I said, the subjects that I approach are never, really revolutionary, brand new ideas, but I do like to cover them in a very introspective, intellectual kind of way.
Well, you can approach songwriting in two ways, and there's nothing wrong with either one. One of my favorite metal songs out there, period, always has been since I first heard it, was Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. Iron Maiden. You can go very prolific like that, or you can write something that just cuts straight to the soul that you as a listener can relate to, and both are okay. But sometimes you don't want to hear the prolific thing, you want to hear the thing that you can really relate to.
Absolutely, and that's the nature of the music. It's blues-based. And what is the blues about? It's about feeling bad, and it's about doing something about it.
Well, and a few other things, too. Well, for Robert Johnson, it's about selling your soul to the devil in part, but,
Well, even I'm telling you, he's feeling bad.
Oh, yeah.
But what did he do? He sold his soul to the devil to make it better.
Yeah, that didn't work. But that's a whole nother story. He died at 27 of pneumonia, but that's a whole nother story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure you heard it.
It's all about feel. It's all about from the soul.
Exactly. So let's go through the EP that's out there currently right now. And I'm going to let you give everybody the name of that and take us through track by track really quick on that. And I'm just going to sit here and listen.
Okay. Well, the new EP that we got out that's available for free download is it's called I Carry the Fire.
And by the way, just real quick to interject, Seth, where can everybody get that at?
You can get it at our website at reverbnation.com/The Sign of the Southern Cross. It's available for free download there. There are 3 tracks. You can also go to our label's website, season-of-mist.com, and you can look up our profile on there, and then you can download that stuff for free there as well. If you go to our YouTube or go to our MySpace or anything like that, there's links all over the place that'll send you to either one of those websites. You can't have to find it on your own.
And I want to thank Lauren over there at Seasons of the Mist for setting this up, too. She's been phenomenal.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart.
Yes, she is. I haven't talked to her personally on the phone yet, but emails and everything. She's just been absolutely wonderful. So let's go into the EP, and I'm gonna let you take us track by track. Let's do this for fun. Let's start with the second song first, go to the last song, and then go to the first song. Let's kind of switch it up a little bit.
All right, sounds good. Second song is a little poppy compared to some of the stuff I've done in the past, but it's sort of this big classic Southern rock ballad, and it's basically it's called "If You Find Yourself Looking Back," and it's this acoustic track with this really beautiful sort of slide tone on top of it, and it's about after you get a chance to sort of get over how passionately angry you are about something or someone.
Yeah.
You can take a look back, you can see the good for what it was, and you kind of wish the other person the best. And you look back and you say, hey, I hope you can see the good for what it was. And I can see what I did that was led to things maybe not being so good. And once again, it's a very introspective kind of journey. And it's about being able to not only forgive yourself, but to wish someone the best who may have scorned you in the past. And to try to see what was good about the relationship or the situation in the first place. And just remember that instead of just burn on how bad something was forever. Because people do that all the time. They'll ever take a second and go, this is what I learned from that experience. And this is what I took away from it that was good. And so that's what that song is about.
Okay, and then the third song?
Third song is called Doing Swagger. It's a real you mark on this earth, you want to put your boot in the mouth of anyone who ever says anything different to you. Well, this is how you do it. These are how, basically, all the behemoths of time, how they did it. And this is how you make your mark on earth. And I call it doom swagger.
Do you mind if we talk about that for a second? Because you've obviously read Sun Tzu's The Art of War.
Yeah.
And I have too. I have a copy of it here. I have a personal copy of it that's more animated, illustrated with the original text in Chinese on the sides, on the borders. And it's people that don't understand or have heard about it, don't know about it. The thing I latched onto it years ago, literally about 13 years ago. I was reading an article, and it happened to be on the Marine Corps Officer Training Candidate School. And
yeah, that makes you read that if you're in the Marine.
Yeah, and they also have a book called Hand Fighting, which is also you're required to read as well. Well, the article was talking about best management program in America, and it turned out to be that. They're talking about Sun Tzu's The Art of War, and I'm going, okay, well, if they're utilizing that, but they're talking about this in the business context, I wonder what else this thing has in it. And when you read it, you realize that not only it was initially created for war to win wars, but if you look at it, you can utilize it in business, you can utilize it in your personal life, you can use it to relationships. It's a way that you can kind of take a look at life, and if things are going bad, it helps you recoup, and you can put yourself on a better path is really what it's about. It's about a way to look at things so that in a sense, not to quote Charlie Sheen was winning, but, it's really, yeah, I mean, I feel bad for the guy. I'm not trying to make fun of it, but I mean, not to go off on that tangent, but really you can be in a winning path in your life.
Absolutely. And that's what I like to call doom swagger. Is it a real word? Hell no. But it's just something I thought it sounds cool, and basically, I just took it from that philosophy, from reading that book, and just sort of roll with it and see if that sounds like something that you can apply, not just like you were saying, not just in war, but in just everyday life.
Exactly. And let's go into the first track.
First track is the title track, and it's called I Carry the Fire. And basically, this track is just a big middle finger to a lot of naysayers who have sort of taken a dump on the music and just the hard work of the musicians who are in this band, because we happen to sound like Pantera. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of people who don't exactly receive the music that well, because, we're just one of those bands right now that you either love or you hate, because there's a lot of comparison. The only thing I would have to say to that is like, hey, even Ray Charles got called. Got called out for sounding like Nat King Cole. I'm new. I'm learning. I'm involved in the music, and everybody starts out sounding like their hero. Metallica, hell, David Coverdale. He sounds like Robin Plant. I mean, I think people put like this over emphasis on originality and so on and so forth. And it's one thing, just like I say in the song, it's one thing to call a spade, but it's quite another thing to call a car dash just because it happens to be in the same deck.
Well, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, basically, just throw the middle finger, like, hey, that time was an amazing time, and I will always respect that band, and they have obviously influenced me. And it's not just that band, but it's a lot of bands that sort of get picked out of that pile. The CSB, the Panthers, all that kind of stuff. There's still that Selmo thing, and of course he's my idol when I was growing up. Coming into metal and stuff like that. So, but at the same time, you hear how I'm talking to you right now. I sound like the dude when I talk, so half the stuff I can't help. But the other half is just like, everybody when they start out, they kind of sound like they're heroes. And that's just basically what that song's about. It's like, hey, now it's my turn to carry this fire. So watch me do it.
Well, what's really funny too, Seth, are you familiar with the band Rhino Bucket?
I don't believe so.
Okay, you need to go listen to this. You'll hear something amazing. I've actually seen them play before, and I got permission to shoot video of them, which we have uploaded in the magazine. And when they first were played on the radio in 1990, I was literally listening to this. Oh, amazing! Somebody's found undiscovered Bon Scott AC/DC tapes, and the lady comes on. That was the new song by Runabuck. I went, who? You know, and the point of that is there are certain bands out there that are going to have a sound very similar to another band. You know, even in the case of Britney Fox sounded similar to Cinderella, and there's this Kingdom Come sounded, I mean, almost identical to the point of Led Zeppelin to the point that they were, if you remember this, they were considered the Led Zeppelin ripoff band. I mean, that was DJ saying this. That was not me saying it. They were literally tagged as the Led Zeppelin ripoff band because they sounded basically 100% like that. So, I mean, that does happen, and sometimes you get the negative, and sometimes people don't really care. I don't think it's important to focus on, well, gee, Sign of the Southern Cross sounds like Pantera, they're ripping them off. I mean, when you want to really get down to it, isn't that kind of what rock and roll and blues is about anyways? Everybody just heard something, and then they covered it, not to rip anybody else off, but, you know, I mean, even Motley Crue for crying out loud did Jailhouse Rock.
Yeah, absolutely. Even Led Zeppelin. And I'm a massive fan of Led Zeppelin. We're sued because they stole stuff all the time. Now, I'm not, advocating, not being original and stealing stuff. I'm not doing that at all. But I think people, they have a real staunch definition of it when there is no staunch definition. It's just like with blues, you're absolutely right. It's everybody's sort of borrows from everybody else. And that was Led Zeppelin's argument when they were getting sued. They're like, oh, but blues is sort of this interchanging thing, and it didn't have to work out so good in their favor. They literally stole lyrics or like a blues line that's off of like copyrighted stuff. But does that make them any less relevant? Absolutely not. Led Zeppelin will go down in history as one of the greatest bands of all time.
Yes, I mean, you know what I'm saying, sir. For anybody that's going to hear this thing and go, oh, they're just ripping out Pantera and they're not original. It's not about that. It's about the fact that, I mean, going back to the very beginning, if I want to go real far, you got to go to Charlie Patton and Robert Johnson and Elmore James and Muddy Waters. But I mean, from the beginning of blues and rock, everybody in some way borrowed from somebody else or somebody's covered somebody else's material, and everybody was influenced by somebody else. That's how everybody's doing this. So when you're influenced, you're going to carry it over either subtly or very blatantly, but it doesn't really, I think at the end of the day, and tell me if you agree or disagree with this, it doesn't really matter. All that matters is the quality of the product of the music that comes out and how well the bands jive with it.
Absolutely. And it's just like, and that's one thing I'm saying, it's always, I wasn't Pantera's apprentice. It's not like I knew any of those, those amazing musicians and stuff like that. But I became their apprentice just through listening to their music, and it sort of engendered a fire in my belly for heavy metal in the first place. And then I went out and started listening to all kinds of stuff, and then it went out on my own. And the more and more you hear the material, the more and more distinct it's going to become. But I absolutely agree that everybody starts out sounding like they're heroes, and whether it be subtle or passive, or subtle or definitely out there. Either way, if you're making good music, you're making good music.
And let me cap this part of the conversation off by saying that it is to quote the old saying, imitation is the highest form of flattery.
Absolutely. And if I'm going to be compared to somebody, I might as well be compared to the best. And I take that as nothing but a compliment sometimes.
Exactly. So let's go into the new album. I know that you said that before we started the interview, when we were on the phone getting ready to set this all up here so we can start recording it, that you're saying that you're right now working in the studio. And do you have a working title or an actual name for the new album yet, or are you still working on that?
I'm bouncing back and forth on a couple of ideas, but something that I'm going to play close to the chest until we can get it 100% ready for the fans.
No, that's okay. Do you have a time frame on when maybe you're looking at the new album coming out?
Well, if everything goes according to plan and if it goes my way, I would love to be done sometime, in the studio. I'd love to be done before the end of the summer, and I would love for it to be out in the fall. Now, will it work that way? Who knows? I finished recording Mountains of Moonshine toward the end of 2008, and it took a year for it to get it released. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen again, but you never know. Music industry is kind of weird.
Yeah. Things go along.
I'm definitely planning on being done recording before the end of the summer.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of old Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that too well sometimes. Unfortunately, that's another story for another time off the record. Anyway, can you mention maybe a couple songs, even if they're working, like working titles, a couple, just maybe two songs that you really, really dig off the new album of what you've been seeing come to fruition?
Well, everything that's coming out is, I'm absolutely in love with it. It's like, I know a lot of artists have a hard time with the sort of sophomore effort, because it's like, oh God, it's been a year, it's been a couple years, and now all these people, they know these songs, and they're going to expect this, expect that. And for me, I just sort of went at it and said, hey, I'm just going to do what I want to do, and I'm just going to write the music that I like. And every track that's coming out is coming out killer. I mean, it's heavy, and as you can hear in the first album and on the EP, I'm in love with the hook. Just that big, fat hook that just, you can't get out of your head. And there are a couple tracks, on there, but I think also I'll play that one close to the chest until we can, get a clearer picture on when we're going to have this out and just get it done in the first place.
Right. Could you at least mention kind of, is it going heavier? Is it going more bluesy? Kind of, without mentioning title or song content or anything, what's kind of the musical direction? We'll kind of close it out with this. What's the musical direction that's going? Is it going kind of the same thing and continuing on? Is it kind of going with more of a blues influence, more of the heavy metal influence? Kind of what's coming in the studio right now?
I think it's becoming more distinct of a flavor. I think, talents have grown, tempers have grown, and so it's going to be a heavy-ass record. But it's also going to be a musical record, just like the first one. And I think the sound of this time in Southern Cross, more than anything, is going to be more distinct. You're going to get a more distinct flavor of the band, where it's going to be in the future of what it tries to be and what it's trying to do in the very beginning of it. And I think definitely you're going to hear some of those, Eating the Sun tracks, and you're going to hear a lot of those Stalking Horse type tracks. And I think to me it's never been about, we have to do it this way, or like we have to make this heavier. It's I sort of tailor write music for each album. I never really write more music that is going to go on an album and pick and choose. I just sort of go, okay, boom, I'm going to write this next album. And that's what's happening right now, and the music's turning out just awesome. I mean, it's just, make you bang your head. It's going to be heavy, and it's also going to be musical, and it's going to be just real distinct, and I'm really excited about it.
Nice. And do you have any plans? Are you looking at plans for any touring, maybe coming across the country or anything like that, going over to Europe or Asia or anywhere?
There's nothing official, but I'm actually, really, really working on that, and would love to get on the road in support of, I'll play with anybody. I don't give a crap. I'm just out there looking to play. And so, Britney Spears wants an opening act. Sign me up, I'll do it. I don't care. I just want to play. And so, officially, there's nothing really set up, but we're working on some stuff. We got a couple of European festivals that are contacting us that I'm hoping will work out, that these dreams come true. And so, at the very least, look for us to, be hopping in our own trucks and heading out wherever we can go to golf.
Okay, the European festivals, we don't have to go into the names of which, but along the lines of like Bang Your Head Fest, Vakken, Download Fest, things like that, kind of?
Well, it's a little more mid-sized festivals, so this big giant thingy that's, there's like, I know there's one in Australia that is looking very
it's kind of been somewhere between like a Download Fest and like a Keep It True Festival or Frog Power.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're talking basically between 40 to 60,000 people and about 2 to 3,000 people, so somewhere probably about, 10, and a lot of those festivals are about 10, 20,000 people.
Right. So hopefully that means we can come through and do that. But if not, you'll always see Southern Cross. Keep it on.
You need to come out here to the West Coast, too.
Yeah, man, I'd absolutely love to. I've been out there many years ago slaying, long before this, the Mountain of Moonshine and stuff like that. And so I miss it. I definitely would love to get back out there.
I got something to tell you when we're done on here, but we're going to wrap this up here in just a second. Let's go ahead and give everybody the website again. Do you do Twitter at all?
I don't use Twitter, but we do now have an official Facebook page.
Okay, so let's start with Okay, go ahead and start over again.
I was just going to say the Facebook page is facebook.com/TSOTSC.
Okay, and then what about give everybody, there's a MySpace, and give everybody that, and then the website too.
Cool, it's myspace.com/Southern Cross Band. And then the Reverb Nation page where you can download the new EP for free. That's reverbnation.com/the sign of the Southern Cross. We also got a YouTube channel, and it's just youtube.com/Southern Cross.
Nice. And this is how I like to end all the interview stuff. I like to let the artist take a couple, 3, 4, 5 minutes, as long or short as they'd like to go. There's no wrong or right on this. There's no rules on this. I've had everything from musicians say hello and I love you to family, to bandmates, to I've had a couple people give very, very prophetic words of wisdom, to a lot of artists just saying, we appreciate the fans and everything. So this is your time to say anything that you'd like to do. Maybe you've never got the opportunity to say something you want to get out there, shout, or you just want to, good or bad or otherwise, and just go, hey, I never got to say this, and so this is your time, and go.
Okay, well, I'm an over-verbose sometimes, so I guess what I'll do is I'll just say, I want to say thank you to all the fans who've supported us, through all the years, and I just want to say how much this journey means to me. There is no separation between me and the sign of Southern Cross. It's my identity, it's what I've become, and it's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so the fact that there are fans out there who are supporting that, who are buying the records, who are coming to the shows, it's life-altering. I mean, it's profound to me, and I just want to thank everyone who even just for half a second paid attention to a Southern Cross song. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means everything to me, and this music will, in the end, define me. And I'm just absolutely thrilled that I get a chance to have an opportunity, no matter how small, no matter how big, to try to make a career out of this and try to be legitimate, try to be a legitimate artist, and making an impact on this earth. Because that's one thing that I want to do. It's very Viking, the idea that if you die and no one forgets your name, you're never truly dead. And that's, half the battle with this. That's sort of the point. Is I want to do something that is everlasting and makes an impact on this earth. And I am eternally grateful that I even get the slimmest sliver of a chance to actually do that. So much respect to everybody out there listening, to everybody who are fans of Southern Cross, future fans of Southern Cross. And I just want to say, all hail the South, all hail our fans, and much respect, much appreciated. Bless everybody. Hope everyone keeps on still on out there.
And hang on the phone for a second. I'm going to say interview.